Hey, good evening and welcome everyone to Monday night. It is DJNTV training night and we're going to kick things off with Howie this evening. Good evening, Howie.
Good evening, John. How are you?
I am doing well. Thanks for joining me tonight. And this is a topic in which is near and dear to my heart, controlling lights with our mobile devices. And the iPad is that's the greatest invention since that knife that cut the bread. Not since sliced bread, but the knife that cut the bread.
That's how I feel about it.
It is fabulous. So in his first session tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about controlling your lights using DMX protocol with the iPad and how he's going to walk us through a few things to just kind of give us an idea of what it can do. Then in our second session, Dan's going to join me and we're going to talk about microphones. I've got 10 different microphones here and we're going to discuss a little bit about, you're going to hear these microphones and what they sound like because a lot of us are doing our client meetings via Zoom. And having a decent mic, you may not realize how bad your mic is until you start to hear it. A mic similar to yours tonight in comparison to a studio mic. That's going to
exactly.
And then MJ is going to come in next after that, and he's going to take us through and show us a little bit about how to do some MIDI mapping of your controller in Virtual DJ. And then Ben's going to wrap it up tonight by going through some of the things you do to get your gain structure set up properly. So we got a big show going on, and this will go until about 10 o'clock. Then after that, Howie, you'll be back in at 10 with the chill room tonight.
In the chill room for an after party and wrap up. It'll be great.
Excellent. And that'll be 10 o'clock Eastern tonight out at djntv.com/chill. You guys can pop out there once we're all done here this evening. So, Howie, let's jump into a little bit about, kind of pop the iPad up there. And for those who have never thought about using an iPad, give us a couple of reasons why you've really kind of gone that direction over a computer.
Well, the main reason is actually the developer. I'm a beta tester now. And I'm personal friends with Ken, who has developed this app for the dongle that I use, which is the Airstream DMX Bridge. In the past, I had used my DMX3. I've used Soundstore. I've used all computer-based ones, but I believe in redundancy. So when I bring two laptops, that's for DJing, and I need to keep my eye on the room and interact with people. To try to operate a show off a laptop and DJ at the same time and still interact, it's a bit difficult. And if I was able to pull that off, well, I would need 4 laptops. I would need 2 for music and 2 for lighting because I would have to have a backup.
Yep.
Well, along came this app with the iPad, which is very small, and I can have right in between the two, the 2 laptops. And this developer has developed it so much. There's every 3 months there's an update, and it works just as well as the computer-based ones. It worked well in Las Vegas. It worked well in Atlantic City, and it was sure easy to carry on the airplane. So it's very easy to, bring it to an event.
Right.
So. I can share a screen now.
Yep, let's do that.
Like.
Let's do that. And you mentioned the redundancy, and that's been a big reason why I've been liking it is because I can have both iPads, and if one of the iPads' battery's dead, I can go to the other one because
exactly
they talk to the devices. And then if one of the devices dies, well, lo and behold, I have a second one with me too. So
well, and you never know. Things get knocked over, like you said, batteries wear out for whatever reason. When I did the chill event at Beret in August, we had the Disc Jockey News chill event there, and I had 2 iPads, and someone actually came up and said, "Why do you have 2 iPads?" I said, "In case one fails."
Yep.
And I actually showed them. I'm on my home screen, and the first thing I would do is hit the settings button, and you'll see this will give me Wi-Fi networks. You see this here, Darkstar.
Yeah.
That is what my other one is lighting me up with right now, as you can see. So I don't want to connect on that because those lights would go out. But that's what I would click on to join a network. And then once I do that, I would go to home screen, and my app is right here in red, and it's a free app, free lifetime with updates and all kinds of fancy stuff you can do. And right here you can see I'm on what's called my scenes page. And I have page after page after page after page of scenes. Now, also with these scenes, I also have effects and pages and pages and pages of different effects. And these things here are pan and tilt effects. So in other words, if I was running a scene and I'm in a venue and, ooh, it's a little bit different. Oh, they put me on a stage this time. Oh, no, the lights are not shining on the dance floor now. They're going over everybody's heads and they're blinding the people sitting at seats. Well, then I can go into the effects here and I could pick a different effect. And all I have to do is highlight it. And then I would go back to my channel page and it would show that. And then in the upper right-hand corner, I would hit save and it would overwrite that. And then whatever I picked, you know, if I had this one lit up, Party 3, all of a sudden the lights are on the dance floor. You can do this on the fly if you want to.
Sure.
Now, another great feature with this is when you get busy during certain events, I actually have what's called sound active for the lights themselves.
Okay.
One thing you don't want to do is put pan and tilt effects on sound active because it moves too fast.
They just,
you know, they'll go crazy, and that's all in the settings. But up lights, dancing to the music and still having nice sweeping effects on the dance floor looks really good. So with all these pages of scenes that you see here, what I can do is go to show, which is right down here in the corner. And if you just tap on one of these up in the left-hand corner, you can click edit and it takes you to something like this. And all you do is click on that. And see, doesn't that look familiar from the page before? You pick these and you put them in order. Okay. And then once you save, then you have created a show. So I put this show on and look, if I go back to the scenes page, you're going to see that in about, boom, it clicked over and lit up the next one. It's automatically, I have automated the automation because these are sound active.
Combined the automations and...
I automated the automation and I keep it on a loop. And because it's sound active, it's not predictable. Like, let's say a gig bar, you could sit there and go, I know what color's coming up next. It's red, you know, that sort of thing. You know, I really endeavored to make it look dynamic. And as you can see, it's jumping around through different scenes. And now I'm able to talk to you while this is running.
And your light show would
because you've come up to me for the 5th time and asked me for apple bottom jeans, and doggone it, I don't have it. All I have is low.
Man, I wish everyone would have the right song, but no, I just want apple bottom jeans.
So I will stop sharing now. So but it's just amazing, and it's like I said, it's so small. The other thing I forgot to expound upon was when I had the 2 laptops at Beret, they said, why? I said, in case something happens. Somebody spills something, it drops, whatever. I showed him how fast it is because with my lighting, when you go into the menu with your light, I recommend this to everyone, no matter what software you're using, is set it to last in the settings for lighting mode, and it'll give you 3 choices. It'll give you auto run programs, which is a train wreck because every light's going to do its own thing. It gives you blackout, which you don't want, and it gives you last. Last means the very last DMX command that was given to that light, it will hold that. So if the last command was blue. Everything would be blue. I would get the second iPad up and running, and then things would start to move again.
Yep.
And nobody's the wiser. They just think, oh, that was part of the show. That was nice.
That was 7 minutes of blue. Oh, that was.
Well, no,
It
I mean,
doesn't
I
take that long,
literally did this in 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I showed him how I could switch from one to the other in 10. Well, if something dropped, whatever,
Yeah.
it could take longer than 10 seconds, but you get the idea. You
Right.
can do this very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's such a convenience thing. But when you have two iPads, Howie, can you create shows with one and then make it so the other one has the same shows and things with it?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is a feature, especially in this one. And okay, we've lost. There we go. And I will share screen again.
There it is. Yep.
Here is what I'm going to do is I will go down here in the corner. I go back to fixtures. Okay. First of all, let me stop this program. I'm going to go to fixtures.
Just a second, Howie. I've got. It's taking a lot of the. It's showing a lot of the screen, so I have to go and uncrop part of our screen here. So for those of you watching, just give me a second here. We're going to bring it. There we go.
This is a very good point you brought up. I'm sorry I missed that earlier, because you can actually share with other people. So, John, you're in Minnesota. If you told me what lights you have, it's very much like with Vegas. I wasn't going to do a site inspection in Vegas. I just programmed here, and then it worked out there.
And we took it out, yeah.
So here is what you do. I go to fixtures page, and then in the upper left-hand corner, I will click on those horizontal dots, and I go to settings. Now, I'm going to scroll up, and you can see right here, it says save and archive.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is tap on that, and it says give it a name. Okay. And I'll just say JOHN. So that's it. Oh, this is for John. Okay. Mm-hmm. Save that archive. And you can see in the middle, it says archive saved.
Yep.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back into the settings again. And it's going to say load an archive. And look, John, you showed up right down here.
Sure.
There is your show. It captured everything that's on my iPad. So now what I can do is go to my home, hit my home button, and I am going to go to my files. Everything on the iPad is stored in your files, mm-hmm. for those that know how to use iPads. Now, I already have right here. If it's not lit up, just tap on that and it says on my iPad. Well, look at what's on my iPad.
Dun, dun, dun.
The Airstream Pro. So I'm going to click on that and it's going to say first thing, archives. What did I just save for you, John?
Yeah.
I saved you an archive. So what I will do is in the upper right-hand corner where it says select, I will select and you'll see circles in there. What do I want to share with John? I think I want to share his archive. So there it lights up in blue. What do I want to do? I could move this like to Dropbox or iCloud, and I'm going to share it with you. So I will click share, and then this pop-up menu comes up, and I could send it to you by clicking on email. And then that'll come up, and here it is. There's your show right there. Mm-hmm. Now all I need to do is put your email in there and send it to you, and then you can import that onto your iPad.
And there you go.
And there you go.
Wow, very easy. I was expecting it to be much more difficult to sync the two up like that.
No, and as a matter of fact, there's another thing that I can do here I'm going to go and I'm going to select again. And I'm going to select archives. And I'm going to share. And do you see where it says AirDrop here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If I click on that.
And if the connection would be there.
For this purposes, for the demonstration, I needed to have Bluetooth off so I could share. If Bluetooth was on, my other iPad
would show up.
And then all I have to do is click share. The other iPad will say, hey, Darkstar wants to share with Darkstar 2. Accept. And I would accept it, of course. And it would be just a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Excellent.
That would, populate on the other iPad, and you're golden. So there you have an instant backup. As a matter of fact, when you're doing these things, I will do whatever your name is. I'll just say, when I first started, be Howie. And if I'm working for an hour or so, I would save an archive just in case.
Right.
And then, then it'd be Howie 1, Howie 2, Howie 3, until I have a complete thing that I like. And then I realize, okay, I'm not going to lose everything. Then I can give it a show name. Like I have the Vegas show, I have Beret show, and I still have all those. So if I went back to a room that size, my lights would be aimed for that room.
Yeah, for sure.
And like Beret, that was on a stage. That's completely different. Now I need the lights to shine where I need them to. So, you can guesstimate get pretty close.
Yeah. Excellent. There's a couple more things I wanted to have you show us quickly. One thing that I kind of found out the hard way is my iPad has cell phone service or has data. And there's something that is important with that when you're going to be doing using your iPad for doing this.
Yes, do turn off your Bluetooth and turn off your. You're going to go to airplane mode. So I mean, anybody that does get the cellular version of it, that all needs to be turned off. This is just a tool for the night. As a matter of fact, I have a phone and it's for making calls. My iPads are tools for lighting, and I buy the non-cellular ones. And right now you can get them for $300 or less. And Black Friday, forget it. You'll probably get it for $275 because they've come out with a new generation. So if you want a nice tool, 10 inches, works great for under $300. So
Howie, let's jump back to the iPad one last time and kind of show people if they had gotten a new light and wanted to add it to the fixtures.
Sure.
And let's just kind of walk them through what that process is, and then where the DMX control is, and just kind of go through, because you've gone through the little options to the middle and right, but we didn't do the two on the left, I don't believe.
Okay. Now, here we are in here. These are various fixtures I've been using for people I've been tutoring this week. So we're going to go back to, if you can see my cursor, we're going to go back to fixtures icon, and then we'll go up in the left. It says AirPlay on here. I'm sorry about that, but there's 4 horizontal lines, and I will click on that. And the first thing that comes up is patching. So I want to patch. And you find an empty spot, and I will grab one right there. And as you can see, I'm in the beta version. So one of the cool things that they have now is downloaded profiles. You can go an online library, and they have over 12,000 of the fixtures.
Wow.
You can go by brand name, and you can also go by what's called generic. And if you click on that, that will bring you down. And what you would do is, if you have the manual in front of you, let's say you bought a knockoff, a Chinese thing, you're going to need to pick, what the closest channels you can get. And then when you go through that, you subtract, like if it's a 15 channel, you would take 18
and go back. Yeah.
And then just you would delete the ones you don't need, but you have to name each one. But for these purposes and for time, let's get out of this and we will patch a known good fixture. And let's just grab. Okay, we'll grab a DJNTV, and you see this will come up. Okay, and it's 18 channels quantity. How many do you have? You can go plus. Oh, because you have 2, I'll hit on the plus and see over there it says quantity 2.
Yeah.
Well, I only have 1, so I'm going to patch 1.
Sure.
So I will tap on that, and look, it comes right up and it shows up here. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I will hit the back button at the top left, and you can see that this has come up.
Right.
Now, because I didn't get that from the online library, it didn't include the picture. The online library actually includes a picture of the fixture, which is kind of cool. So you don't have to hunt for a picture. But here is what I can do is I can go back to patching, and you will see the eye in the dot, and I will click on that. And here it says fixture name and then button image. Well, anything, you could actually take a picture of your fixture with your iPad, and I will go in the button and I will scroll through some things here. And let's just say that this one is the fixture. So I'm going to click up here, use. So I'll tap on that. I'm going to go back with the patching, go back. And now you can see lit up down here is a picture of my fixture.
Right. Makes it so much easier to.
So I've actually patched it and I've put a picture. So I have that visual.
Can you click on
and now that that's lit up,
yep, there we go.
It gives me the pages. So, I can light this thing up by just sliding these sliders up, my dimmer and my strobe, and it'll be white. And then I can go and pick colors or go into effects and do certain colors and so forth. Is there anything else you would like me to share?
I think that's I think that's good because we're almost out of time here. Now,
okay.
Now you've done a lot with this and you have really developed, but how long, if a person got into this and wanted to have a light show that had, a few wash fixtures, maybe a couple of moving heads, is this a 10-hour process to get set up? Is it a 3-hour process? How would you, if we were doing like 4 floods and 4 of the Pocket Pros as an example?
The way that I tutor, and it's been very successful because I have people that understand. And the first thing I ask is, have you read the manual? 99% of them say no. I go, okay, I will be happy to read the manual to you and walk you through and show you on your iPad what that means. And because a lot of people don't understand the terms, so I'm happy to do that. But I've taken people that don't know anything about it, and I've done it, I would say, depending on their skill level, anywhere from 4 to 8 hours. They will have actual working knowledge of the program and be able to make scenes for their event.
Sure.
And then they're on their own. But my whole goal is, the longest so far has been 7 hours that I've tutored someone that they actually got the aha moment. You get that aha moment that, and now they run. I get it.
Now they can get
then then I never hear from them again. I go, hey, how you doing? Nope, I'm fine, man. I'm making all my own stuff here. I'm making my effects. Oh, what a show I have now.
Yeah,
and Jay is my star student. I tutored him, and let's see, I think I did, it was 3.5 hours. And then I said, you need any help? Nope, I'm good. And he did something really clever during cake cutting at the winery. He had the two Pocket Pros crossing over each other very slowly.
Nice.
In an aqua blue over the top of the couple, so they were under an arch type thing while they're cutting the cake. The venue owner came up to him and said, my gosh, that's wonderful. Can you do that for every wedding you do here? He goes, sure. And what's every wedding? And he wound up getting 26 bookings.
Nice.
For the future.
Yeah, he has been busy out there.
So he's like very grateful. He's like, wow, dude, thank you. Yeah. So
nice.
It makes a difference.
It does.
People noticed, and he's getting referrals. It's a tiny thing, but it's noticeable than the, what do you call automatic? You just plug and play lights.
Yeah.
There's a big difference.
Howie, if people would like to get in touch with you to have you help them get the set up and such, and to do some tutoring, how would they? What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on Messenger on Facebook, Howie Darkstar, and they can also reach me through email. That's Howie@dj-howie.com.
Excellent. You guys know where Howie is on Monday nights,
and I'm here all the time. You come in the chill room and ask.
Yep, DJNTV.com/chill, and that'll be at 10 o'clock Eastern tonight when everyone's in the chill room. So, Howie, we're going to wrap up here, and gang, we'll be back in about 2 minutes. We're going to switch over and get Dan in, and we're going to talk microphones. Howie, thanks again for sharing a lot of great information.
Thank you, John. Good to see you again.
We're back for session number 2. Dan, I think this is going to be called microphone time.
Ooh.
Because, I mentioned I had like 5 microphones. I think I'm up to 10.
Nice. I was wondering how we were going to go, because I got one.
Yeah, you've got one.
I've got others, but they don't connect like this.
That one does. So I'm hoping this will work out. And I've practiced earlier, and it did. So I'm hoping. So first off, Dan, the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because we've been doing a lot of Zoom events. I mean, this is what we do on Mondays, but client meetings and professional times where we're using Zoom. And you use this in a professional manner the other day, and you got some feedback on your microphone. Can you share a little bit with that?
Sure. So I was having basically a meeting through Zoom with people that I'm not real familiar with, people that I haven't really talked to a bunch or anything like that. And at the end, they said, we got to stop for just a second. Like, we do this for a living, like talking on Zoom, very similar to, to what we're doing. And they said, hands down, yours is the best microphone we've ever heard. And it kind of took me back, because I was just like, seriously, like, you talk to people all the time, and this is the best. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. So that was one. And then it was another meeting within the same company I was doing something with, and they also took a few moments to comment on it. So again, it took me by surprise, but it was a good surprise.
Exactly. And I think that's something that we sometimes don't think about too terribly much. Oh, I got a mic and I've got my earbuds, which, headphones, I'm listening to what Dan is saying. I mean, something adequate for that. I mean, yeah, I could have a better quality version. I did have some super cheapies. I had the $4.99 Walmart ones I had to use one night, and that they didn't work all that well. And it was just, I had to turn them up so loud here, and then I had to adjust in some. So earbuds are one thing, your personal preference, but for microphones, sometimes we don't think too much about it and we just use what we use. And you guys have heard some of our shows where, Dan and I sounded really great. And then if we had a guest that wasn't MJ, sometimes their microphones weren't that great. So we'll go through and talk about a lot of microphones. So first off, Dan, what mic do you have in front of you?
So this is the Audio-Technica 2020 USB.
So USB coming in, so it's powered with the USB. No mixer needed, and it's right there on the desk and good to go. Does your headphones plug into the microphone?
They do. You have the option, obviously, to not, but I found, and this goes back to my radio days, plugging into the mic allows me to control hearing myself.
Nice.
And then also hearing you, where if I plugged in directly into the laptop, I didn't hear myself. Like I sounded muted to myself.
Yep, and that can happen quite often. And I think that's why I think virtually all the USB versions that I'm gonna show tonight have that capability to listen to the unit. Myself, I've got two of them here, and I think these are the 320, the Electro Voice 320s, I believe it is, the RE 320. I can't turn it, but I believe that's what these are. But
I say it says 309A on the holder.
Well, that's the holder. Yeah, the holders.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think that was the.
So yeah, we ended up getting two of those to use because we were going for a while. Lori and I were doing a little podcast with the two of us, and we wanted to have two microphones. We found out that didn't work as well as we thought it would, because to have the two of them mounted on a table and do back and forth, we ended up going with a different, more of a boom mic. So it wasn't. We weren't into the microphones quite as much for what we were doing. It worked, but that means that I have two of them here, and occasionally I've had some friends over, and we've done a podcast from here with each having a microphone. Okay, so where I want to start with is let's kind of go through. Actually, I'm gonna probably start in an area which you wouldn't expect, Bluetooth.
Okay.
I'm not going to be able to hear when I switch my microphone input. I'm not going to hear me. You will hear me, Dan, and if it's really loud or something, I'll be able to see it, I suppose. But because
just in case,
yeah, it's just the same as you were referring to. So if I'm switching, and now I should be coming through Bluetooth.
Oh, yeah.
Is it? I can see it bouncing here. So this is coming through this little Bluetooth headset, and I can't hear myself. Oh, actually, I am hearing myself, but I've got to.
You sound like you're on a telephone. So and when what, and I should say maybe an old telephone where like the sound was like compressed, like you're just very, instead of being the full range of sound, it's very close. Almost has a shower type of resonance too. Also, like when you're talking to someone, like, and they're in a shower, you can hear that type of reverb type of piece. Yeah. When you were snapping, I was hearing it. Yeah.
So now I'm back to the studio mic, and I'm going to just shut the heads.
Oh, John is saying, a couple of them are saying that they could not hear you
at
on
all?
YouTube with that mic.
Oh, they couldn't. It didn't come through at all.
Interesting. I mean, I was hearing you, so it connected through Zoom.
Interesting. Okay, so how How are we going to? Because I was seeing it bounce here. Why was that? How come I'm seeing it bounce, and they're not? That's not okay. Okay, so I think I've got to try something. So we're going to just leave the Bluetooth one alone because that one could be a problem child. Okay, I think I've got a way to make this work. Actually, you know what? I probably could go back to that so that way they've got a better idea of I don't need that out to make this work. Let's make sure that that's connected again. Yes, it's connected. Okay, so I'm going to turn that off in just a sec. Audio capture. Oh yeah, I can do it here. So now they'll get to hear the same thing that you are hearing. And screen capture, audio capture, and that.
Okay, so
Now I think I lost you.
Okay.
There we go.
So now everybody can hear. This is the Bluetooth headset. If you're doing things, and yes, I could set up Zoom so I could hear Zoom through the Bluetooth headset if I wanted to do that. But now you guys can hear, and it looks like, ironically, the Bluetooth headset's only coming through the one channel on Zoom.
Oh,
which could be. So hopefully you guys can hear this and you get an idea. If you're using Bluetooth headsets, this is actually one of the better sounding ones from our tests when we've done some video, but it's obviously not a Rockstar one. So
I'm going to bring the studio back up and go back to that for Dan, and then I'm going to drop that audio, and I need to segue over. Okay, so
right.
that was Bluetooth. Now we're going to go through some USB microphones, and this will be. Let's see, which one should we? Let's go to Snowball first.
Yeah, I say that's a pretty popular one. I remember prior to us going to the Audio Technica, I was one I just kind of looked at for my own benefit.
Okay, now you guys can hear me out there in Dan, you should be able to hear the Snowball, and everyone out there should be able to hear it. Just a USB, and it has, I believe, on it somewhere. I thought the Snowball had a headset capability. I think it does, but maybe it doesn't. But I thought it does. No, it does not, actually. As I'm looking at it, Zoom doesn't allow me. But how does this one sound compared to what you were hearing?
Compared to the studio or compared to the Bluetooth?
Let's go to the studio, because the studio is going to be kind of our default here.
So this is obviously better than what we had, but definitely not to that level. Again, so I compared the Bluetooth where you really kind of shrunk everything down. This feels like you've just kind of taken the low end out.
Okay.
So you're mainly dealing with the more upper end of your spectrum within your sound. Definitely not something I'd want to use. Having that conversation, having that client meeting. Yeah, I think you're going to be okay. But having something where you definitely want your sound quality to be of essence, not a go-to there.
Okay. Check. That's off. And now you guys should be hearing me through the Movo. This is the Movo UM700. Yes, I believe that's what we're. And this one has a little bit more capability. So this particular one, I have a gain control on this one, and I can turn it up. Is it getting louder, Dan?
It did, yes.
Okay, so I have the ability. This one will allow me to put it has a mute button on it, so I can.
Yeah, you muted yourself.
I know. I just thought that was so much fun.
Wait, you bumped that?
Yeah, I did. So this is a kind of a step up. Sound quality. Where does this put me, Dan?
This is below the Snowball. I wonder if it's got some direction to it. I wonder if its placement's going to matter. Because when you picked it up and you went by that button, it actually sounded like it got better. But you sound real distant from it and just kind of.
How about now? How does it sound now? This is a different setting on the unit. And as I'm looking, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's there, but I'm not.
Okay, how about now with this pickup pattern? Is this pickup pattern? It's very
That
loud.
was the same as the second one.
Okay. Okay, how about this pickup pattern? How does this one come across?
That's probably the best of the ones you've had.
Okay, so I think there's 5 different pickup patterns that this one shows. And again, this is the Movo. This is the UM700. This was a new one that came out in 2020 that they were really pushing, and I used it. I didn't think it was. It doesn't sound as good as what our studio ones that we've been using.
Mm-hmm.
So while it's okay, I think the next one, which is also a Movo USB one, is just a little better. Okay, so that one's gone. I've got to keep moving them out of the way. Okay, so now I'm on the Movo. This is the Movo 300 here, a smaller unit. And it has, I believe, gain, and it has some pickup patterns and things with this. USB controlled. I don't know if this one has. I don't think this one has headset capability. Oh, yeah, it does have headset capabilities on the bottom of it. So, what are your thoughts, Dan, as far as how does it sound?
I think that's better than the 7,700.
700, yeah.
700. It just has a better sound, has a little more natural sound. Although I think it was very evident when you were messing with it, not just that we were picking up that you're messing with it, but also like you kind of went almost like a digitized type of sound to your voice.
Really?
When you were messing around and kind of moving it away.
Could that have been a wire, maybe not being fully?
That's possible.
Fully seated. But if I leave it and such, and I'm talking, is this? If you put this in a progression, so this is probably short of the studio, this is the best sounding one we've talked about so far.
I think overall, yeah, I think you're still kind of squashed a little bit, like, which was the one I think the Snowball. I said you had a little bit more of the upper end,
yep,
and dropped the lower end. This is kind of you're getting a little bit more of the lower, but you're losing a little bit of the upper. So it's still a wider spread than what you saw with the Snowball, but not quite. Obviously not full with what we got the studio. Interesting.
Okay. Now we're going to go to webcam. So this is the Logitech 920 microphone that you're hearing right now. And you should be able to hear a lot of room noise.
Yeah.
So this would be kind of reminiscent to a lot of laptops. If you were using your microphone that's built into the laptop, this is what it would kind of sound like for the person on the other end. How does this one compare as far as to fit into the understanding of what's being said?
Understanding, it sounds fine. Sound quality, I put it above the Bluetooth, but I would put it pretty much below everything else.
Interesting.
Like, again, a good conversation type of piece, but definitely not. And kind of the way I view this is very similar to what I had a college professor tell me one time. We buy extra sound systems for our TVs because they build these $400 or $500 TVs and they put 10-cent speakers in them. You know what I mean? Like with a webcam, the purpose for it is the webcam. It's not for the microphone. So you can't expect an $80, $90 webcam to suddenly have an $80, $90 microphone.
For sure. Okay. So now we're going to be jumping to, we're going to stick with a Bluetooth type, or not a Bluetooth, a USB type device, but we're going to be going to the Shure digital connection. So this is going to be running the next number of microphones. This is very similar to what my main board, I've got a Yamaha main board, very similar in what it does. It's just that it doesn't have the different settings. You can't do the compression and things that you can on a big board. But we're going to use this one so that we can do some demonstrations of that, because it's a $100 option where some of the boards can be much more than that. So I'm going to flip over here. And now you should be hearing me through this, and now everybody should be hearing me through this microphone. So this is an SM58 here, which isn't too bad when you're talking and you can hold it here, but for a lot of people, they set them down here. And then, it's kind of, you want it off the screen, and you put it off the screen, and it doesn't pick up as well as this picks up.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're having it there on screen, it's definitely, in our progression here, studio microphones here, like it's like right below. It had a nice full sound to it. It had the good pickup that you were expecting. But again, as soon as you pulled it down, it just dropped.
Drops really, really quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to switch. Okay, now we've switched microphones. We're using the same. This is the RE50B. The reason that I wanted to demonstrate this one is because this is an actual interview microphone, and what's nice about it is that it has a kind of a wider sweet spot, so you can actually be talking off axis, and it will pick it up a little bit better than some other microphones. Some other microphones you have to be basically straight on. With this particular one, I can be holding it between two of us. If there were two of us here, like this, just off the camera here, and it would be picking us both up better than a lot of microphones. So in this case, if it was off, off camera, right there.
Yep. There is your sweet spot. When you had it here, it dropped. It was that, as people kind of said, a hollow room tin can type of feel to it.
Right.
You put here in between. That's when it's been good.
So now, as it's off camera, and it's kind of not quite a shotgun type microphone, but I mean it's getting to that kind of technology. How does this sound as far as when you're putting it into that progression? Where would it fit in?
You're still kind of there's like a weird. I keep calling it like that digital piece to it. It still has that kind of like a little feel to it. In our progression, I've lost count on where I'm at now. I would probably say maybe in our third level studio here, the Shure, when you're holding in the right spot, when you had that good sweet spot on it, it sounded good, but then it dropped a little bit, even kind of as where your head was compared to.
That makes sense. Okay, so now we're jumping to the Sennheiser. This is the E865. So we've taken a couple of steps up in microphone quality with this particular unit. This one, why I like this one is I use it at trade shows with a wireless device, and I can have it where I can have it 3 feet away and it picks up pretty well. And yes, I can talk to it closer, but most of the time I'm 3 to 4 feet away from someone and I can aim it at them and it will pick up pretty clean audio. So
yeah, I would say this ranks up as your second with what you just did.
So yeah, if I'm
first
off
being studio and then this.
Yeah, and if I'm off camera and have the microphone set here, you get an idea of what it can do. And what I like about these is that people sound like rock stars with this. I mean, this is one of the top of the end Sennheiser microphones, which would be a replacement for. This is my my 87A, the Shure Beta 87A. Sounds very similar to this. I think I do have phantom power on it, actually. I can plug that one in next. Let's try that. Am I there? Yes, I am. All right. Mm-hmm. And so this would be the Shure 87. The thing I didn't like about the Shure as much now is that it doesn't quite have that pickup that the Sennheiser does. It sounds pretty good when you have it about here, I think. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the sweet spot for it?
I still like the Sennheiser just a tinge better, even at the sweet spot.
But. Yeah, I think that Sennheiser, nice microphone. I mean, these were industry, kind of the industry standard for a long time. But I'm kind of favoring that Sennheiser also. So, okay, I have, let's see, one more.
I love John Colley's helpful hints when using a soup can. Remove the soup.
totally pegs it out.
There we go.
Okay. So now this is a different beast altogether. Check. 1, 2. Hey.
There we go.
There we go. I'm bringing this down. This is, let me get the model number. It's a Rode microphone. This is the NT3. And obviously it has a different pickup capability than the other ones that we were doing with. This particular one will be used in studio applications where they're needing an overhead shotgun mic, because it has a nice distance type shotgun pickup. And I think you can actually, there's some settings on this. Maybe not this particular one, but some of them, they have settings for it. So if I'm off camera with it and have it about here, and I turn the gain down, and I'm sorry if it was really loud. This would be what the Rode, this N. Yeah, where was it? I'm gonna give it NT3. NT3. So how does it sound?
It's kind of been interesting because you can tell there's obviously some pickup patterns, because as you've been messing with it, with obviously not seeing it on camera, you can tell you've been turning it away from its ideal pickup. So it does have, it's not a wide, it's not like for being like the idea of being on a shotgun boom type of thing, you would expect it to kind of pick up full round, but there's been different times you can tell it's been off.
So so as I'm talking and such, and we turn it like this, we start to lose that audio.
Oh, big time.
Wow.
Big time.
So we got a lot of side rejection with this particular one.
Yeah. So when it was towards you and off camera, it was fine. Like you sounded good. Again, near that top end, you had full range of your sound, but when you had it not positioned right, I was not liking it at all.
Okay. Now I want to try something here and see if I can do this.
I will add also, before you messed with the gain, it was down close to the Bluetooth.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like when you first plugged it in, you're like, oh, that gain issue that you're having.
Yeah.
You turned it back, then it fixed it. But initially I was like, whoa, this is done like the Bluetooth level.
Interesting. That's yeah, because it was looking like it was way too high, way too strong on the board. So at an arm's length, how does the arm's length sound compared to about 16 inches away? Is there a huge drop as you go away? You
sound distant, you sound hollow.
Okay. Yep.
So when you 16, you got better. Yep.
So there you go. So
right there is a good sweet spot for it. Yeah.
So which is just that off camera as the other ones are. So excellent. Let's switch back here to our regular microphone. And I think we're back, Dan. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I think we've got everything. So that was a run through of a lot of different microphones. Some of which, we did a kind of a webcam mic so people could hear what that sounded like. A variety of handheld microphones, Bluetooth microphones. It really becomes one of those things, if you're going to want to be impressive or have compliments like you had received, Dan, a person's got to get the right tools. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you guys can even tell, I mean, and I appreciate everybody dropping in the chat, like, hey, this is what we're hearing as well. And you could definitely tell a big difference between the two, but also as soon as you came back to that studio mic, you really got appreciation for that level, for that quality, because it suddenly, it put everything in perspective. You got the full range. Granted, yes, it's up close. That is the one thing that you potentially, lose if you're trying to keep everything off camera. But in the same respect, I'd rather a client, I'd rather a Zoom meeting, I'd rather somebody know I have a microphone and see it, even if it's just a little bit, than to have something completely off camera just so that it's off camera.
Right. And I think there are some options. I mean, I played with the 865 before, when that was the Sennheiser. That off camera sounded pretty good. I think a microphone like that. I've seen numerous DJs who are doing podcasts and trying to do videos. They're using an SM58, and then they pull it down a little bit till it's not in front of the face, and yet that's a microphone that's really meant to be right off your chin. The two fingers is off the lip, whatever, however you want to look at it. So using some of our tools, some will kind of move across and be useful for us, and some just won't be when you're getting into this. I was looking for my my Electro Voice 420 microphones, and I think I packed them up, and I think they were in my truck. I was looking for them because the 420s were very similar to the 865, except they have a little bit different pickup pattern, which would have been kind of fun to compare the two because they're both very high-end microphones. But yeah, wouldn't you think Funny Guy would have had them already pulled out? So yeah. Well, gang, we're going to go and get things switched over here, and MJ's on deck next. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes as we get MJ on, and we're going to talk a little bit about doing some MIDI mapping. We'll be right back. All right, we're back for session number 3 tonight. This is DJNTV Training at Night. We do this the third Monday of every month, and this is going to keep going right into 2022. We've got some great shows scheduled in 2022. We've actually got one more coming up here in December that we'll be doing. So that's actually going to be going to the second week of December because later in December there's something going on. I don't remember what it was. Maybe people were going to get their taxes started. I don't know.
There you go.
That was because we're always on time. Always on time. So MJ, thanks for being on and being with us. And you've got some cool things you're going to show us.
No, I'm just going to talk about microphones.
Oh, well, great. I happen to have a microphone we can talk about. Let's see, where's one of them I didn't throw across the room as I was clearing my...
Yeah, for real. I want to talk about MIDI mapping tonight, and I want to talk about it in 3 sections. The importance of MIDI mapping, how to MIDI map, and basically kind of why I do what I do. Because there's I know I do things differently, and when I do stuff, people are like, hey, why did you do that? And then I explain to them like, oh, that kind of makes sense. And they're like, well, maybe I wouldn't go through all that. And tonight I'm going to show you how easy it is to do some of these shortcuts.
Excellent.
All right, so if you don't know what MIDI mapping is, basically MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and basically it is a way that the hardware speaks to the software. So if you do an action on a controller, that action has a reaction within the software that creates something, like moving the physical volume up on the fader, and it actually brings the volume up on the music, and you see a little digital thing move up on your program. So that's basically what MIDI is, and what it does is that most controllers nowadays are what's called a generic MIDI controller. except for quite a few pioneers, which are not generic MIDI controllers. They are designed with a lot of hardware stipulations for certain things to where you can't MIDI map them. I'm going to be talking about Virtual DJ tonight, but also some of the things that I'm going to be talking about, showing the codes and whatnot, those are applicable to other DJ programs, not just Virtual, because a code to send, have a button do something is going to be the same on all of them. It's just going to maybe be written a little differently, as in the name of the effect if you're going to do an effect, or the name of the button, but basically you're still going to put it down the same way. So the things I'm going to be showing on Virtual and through my Denon are going to be good for pretty much anything. So keep that in mind. So keep an open mind to what's going on here. And you also get a little bit of why I do it. And that's the important thing to be showing some of these things tonight. Now, on my controller here, let me change. No, I want to share. I have so many buttons to press tonight. No, I don't want to share. I'm changing cameras. That's what I'm changing. Sorry.
Yeah,
lots of buttons.
Lots of buttons.
And there we go.
There we go.
Okay, so this is the one that I gig out with all the time.
Dan, let's shut our video off, and then it'll go full screen. Easier.
Oh. I'm going to be going back and forth a lot.
Yeah,
so.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll just pop our videos off here.
So you can just hear. You don't have to see any of us. I'm not important to be seen. So this is the controller that I gig out with all the time, and this is the one that I spend the most time MIDI mapping, and I've done so much with this thing, it's ridiculous. And I'm kind of going to run through some of the things that I've MIDI mapped and why I've MIDI mapped them, and then I'm going to show you on the program what it looks like. So up at the top of the 7000, there are 3 buttons here that are set for effects. Effects select 1, 2, and 3. For most people on a normal program, those are assignable to be whatever you want, adjustable by these knobs, and triggerable by the buttons. I know which effects I use, and I only use those effects. I don't vary far off of them, and I call them all exit effects. And they're effects for when you're exiting a song somehow. And what I've done is gone into these buttons, and again, like I said, when we go back to the program, I'll show you the buttons in the program and what I did to make them actionable. So these, you can move them around, but anytime during the night of DJing, anytime I reach up and hit any of those are preset to a specific effect and nothing else, okay? So the first one is an echo, but I didn't do just an echo. I did an echo and a flange, and it is post fader. So that means if the volume's up and I press that, pull the volume down, that means the song stops going out to the main speaker, but that effect continues. So if I'm playing this, okay, I pull the volume down, it goes away. But if I hit that effect, then bring it down, you will hear that echo. But actually, it's 2 effects that I set onto that one. I will show you why I did that. It's an echo and a flange. So your echo has a longer oscillating sound, back and forth. And the flange is very, very quick. So you put the 2 of those together, and it kind of smooths it out a little bit. So this is what it would sound like to just come out of the song. And that's all that's for. And doing both of those, it smooths it out. So the next one is a backspin. Now you can backspin if you want. That was way out in the song, sorry. So if I backspin, you can do that. But the backspin right here is set specifically, and I'm going to show it here in a bit, to go 2.5 beats back. So it's going to go 1 and 2 and stop. Okay? 1 and 2 and stop to give it effect. And the last one is a break effect. So all this is instead of stopping like this, it's going to have a little bit of a tail. And that's just to give it a little bit of an effect. So those are my exit effects, and I put them in there specifically because I don't want to screw around having to look for something. So if I'm mixing and then all of a sudden I go, oh, I want to cut out right here, I don't have to wait. Immediately at that second, I can jump up there, and I know those are always going to be those buttons. Next to it, I've rigged these up here. Now, for a normal program, these are set up so that you look at different files, so that you could press 1 and it's going to open up your prep area. Another one is going to open up your history area, and another one's view. Or if you hit shift or different things, it's going to bring up different things. But I wanted them to be actionable on specific things. So this one here will bring focus to your main browser, where all your songs are. This one brings focus over to your side list. So I could be scrolling right now on my main list, and I'll show it again on the screen. Go to there, and now I'm scrolling on my side list. And then if I go over there, then I'm going to be scrolling all the way over on the left folder system. So at any time, I can jump to any of those, scroll, and move on. If I want to type and search for something, I don't want to have to mess with the mouse. Because like I said, I'm mixing all night. I do not have time to do that with my mixing. So I set this up to highlight the search button. So search bar. So if I'm here and I'm DJing and I want to type something in, I go, boom, start typing. The cool thing about Virtual is they have recently done a focus search bar their own. So without this, I don't even have to hit this now. All I have to do is start typing, and it will focus to the bar automatically. So they've something that I programmed in there, they skipped over. So this again is for navigation again. So I don't have to go up to the screen. I don't have to worry about a mouse. I can click, boom, go, load, go. Pressing down on this loads a song. But if I hold down the shift and press down, it puts that song over in the side list. So if I'm right now loading a bunch of stuff over in the side list.
Now is that MJ? MJ, did you do that, or was that Virtual programming with the shift and that pushing down?
I think in theirs it did it somewhere else. I think it went to the holding list because there's a side list, and then there is a what's the other one called?
Auto mix was the other one.
No, side list, auto mix, and there's a third one that they have. I can't think of what it's called.
No, I'm not sure.
Like holding list or something. And I think it went to the holding list from stock. I made it go to the side list because I use the side list, and side list is different than auto mix, which we will get into auto mix here in a bit, I promise. All right. So those, like, again, so that if I don't have to lose stuff, I can boom, load a song, put the next one in holding, move on, do all those kind of things. I don't have to screw around a lot. If we move down here to this sensor button, everybody kind of knows what a sensor button is. I don't use it because I play clean songs. So what I did is I tied this button into one of the effects banks here, and Virtual has an ability to have a synthesizer in there, and you can do different things with the synthesizer, and one of the things is you can have drums in there. And I put drums on there, and since it works through the synthesizer of Virtual DJ, the drum will automatically sync to whatever song is playing. So if I get to a point in a song where the music dies out and it's just the person and I want to keep the energy, all I have to do is press this button to put a kick in. Hold on. You can hear that, right?
Yep.
Okay. Turn it off. Now if I want that kick to be doubled, shift. And that's it. So if the song's playing, I'm going to pull the bass out.
Yep.
And no matter how fast that goes, that kick stays with it. Or the double. Now I just added some energy to that. You just play around with that all night and do stuff.
Sure.
So that is, again, a shortcut to mixing. So I'm setting all these things up so I don't have to do crap. I'm here, I'm mixing, I'm changing, I'm moving, I'm doing all this. Another thing that, again, I'll show you once we get up on the screen, beat jumping is something that I do a lot in a song. That if you're playing a song and it gets to a point where you need to add more time, beat jump basically makes that song jump back, whatever you have it set, 4 beats, 8 beats, or whatever. In the original programming, it was set as a shift on these two down here, they're parameter buttons, and the parameter was the top, so parameter and then shift was the beat jump. I just flipped those in the programming so that I have the beat jump up there all the time. So if I'm here, let me find a spot in the song. Oh, right here. And I can just, as long as I need to keep that going. Or forward. And that's a beat jump, again, so that I'm able to do stuff live and go with that.
Sure.
Next one down. Again, this is just kind of the explanation of the buttons and why I use them, and then we'll jump up into the program and we'll look at the actual language to them. The other thing that I did along here is that these, on most people, are just simple cue loops, your hot cues, save loops or rolls, slicer loops, and sampler and stuff like that. I kicked all that around to do what I want it to do, okay? Because I don't like playing around with a lot of stuff. So right now, it's hot cues. Okay? One down under it is what's called a split bank. No, I'm sorry, it's scratch bank. Sorry. Split bank is a different one. And scratch bank basically means that if I have a song, and I'm back here on this one, and if I go over to this side, I have another song over there. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's say I wanted to scratch over this one. I go boom, and now I'm in my scratch bank.
One.
And I go shift, and any of those, it takes me back. It loads the song back that I had there before. So I can jump into samples, scratching, and jump out of samples back to the song that I had. So I can scratch, sample, jump back out, and I'm at the song that I had, looping at the place that I had it looping.
Mm-hmm.
Again, steps to do that. All right, so we're back over here. Roll next is audio effects. So if I want to do some special effects, chop, 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 chop. I love that one. That's a loop out. Then we go back. That's the echo that I had.
Yeah.
That's the flange that I had. That's the break and phaser. Phaser with the oscillation. So those are set there. We go to the next one over, and this is video effects. So if I have a video going on and I want to, let's say the video playing, I don't like what it's playing, I have these set up to cover it with something else. Then we go down further, and it's a video cube, so I can take the screen from being flat and put it into a 3D cube that's spinning.
Sure.
The next one is video rotation, to where it just takes it flat and rotates it that way. This is spectrum, so what it does is it puts an audio spectrum, like when a meter, that goes with the song. It puts it over top of the video, and then, now that's spectrum, and this is spectral, and spectral takes the opposite, so it takes a black background. Instead of putting the spectrum over top of the video, it then makes the video the spectrum moving. So each one of those, Milk drops another cover, and then this one just kicks up my logo on the screen whenever I want to. And then the last one is the one where right now it's set to do all of your stems. So with shift doing the same thing. And then you hit it again, and now it's a sample bank. I gotta turn that down so it doesn't crash things. So it's
Yeah, boy.
You are listening to Michael Joseph, MJ in the mix.
MC DJ MJ.
And that's the samples down
Yep.
there. And that's pretty much the main gist of what I do with all the stuff that I do, okay? So now I'm going to go here, and we're going to go back to me. There we go. And now I'm going to share the computer program. And share virtual. All right, so now here's the program,
Yeah.
and I'm going to show you what some of the ones are. And like I said, a lot of them... Okay, so we're here now. So again, we'll do the scrolling thing and the buttons. So I'm scrolling there. So let's say I want to now scroll quickly over in that side list. I hit the button. I'm now scrolling in the side list. Now I want to go over to the folder section and go to a different folder. I hit that bottom button, and now I'm scrolling over there. Now, I'm in the folder that I want to be. I hit this. Now I'm scrolling here. I load a song, and I want to put... Let's say, I want to put this song over in a holding list. Shift. Put it over in a holding list. So everything is done that fast.
Sure.
And that's the purpose of it. This is the area of the hot cues, and I'm using the stock skin. I don't normally always use the stock skin. But this is the effects buttons. As you see as I go across there, it just flat out changes them to whatever you want it to be. There's the scratch bank. There's the custom audio, the custom video, the stems, and then the second time you hit each one of those, it becomes a separate thing, and then that's the sampler. Now we're back up to the hot cues. I hit hot cues a second time. It then gives me my scratch bank. So all of this stuff is instantly changeable on the fly. This is the beat jump. See it jump back?
Yep.
And if I have to, fill time, or if I'm like, no, I got to get into this song. There we go. I'm into the song. And it goes on beat. So the beat jumps and different things like that set. The hot cue, the cursor, sensor, is it up? There we go. You don't really see much when I press it, but it happens. And what it's going to do is it's going to go into this sampler right here that I have set up, and it's going to trigger the first one. And if I do the shift, it'll go to the second one. And that's all that single button is doing, is it is triggering
those
samples from that.
Sure.
Okay, does that make sense?
Yep, yep.
Make sure that's back down. We're going back over to the side list. A couple other things that I want to show that are new with virtual that are part of the MIDI mapping, and one of the cool things with virtual, a lot of this stuff now, you used to have to go in and MIDI map what I'm about to show you, but they have a lot of drop downs now that are doing this. So right in here, you have your hot cues, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you wanted to do a split bank of something. You can go in here and do a split bank to where the top is hot cues and the bottom is something else. So I'm going to do top is hot cues, and the bottom is drum kit. So now I have a sample pad there. Let's pick a better one than that. Let's do, and we're going to pick split bank, and then we're going to go with, where's roll at? Looper. Yeah, so we can go my hot cues. Now the bottom set of numbers is something else. So I'm making that all loops. And you can split, and that's what I do sometimes, is that I'll go in and I have one made here, which is hot cues and custom things. So in the 4 pads that I had, at the, on my pads now, my top is my cues. Okay? Mm-hmm. And the bottom is effects. So if I'm someplace, like when I'm using, one of the places I DJ at, I use the Pioneer 1000 SRT, and the SRT does not have that top row buttons that I had before, okay? So I put these effects on a split pad, so when I'm using that one, I have my exit effects on the bottom half right here,
okay,
and my hot cues on the top half.
Sure.
So you set yourself up to where you're more comfortable. I'm there like maybe once, twice a month maximum, so it's not something I use every week, but I still have to get myself to the point where I'm mixing for 4 hours in front of a big crowd, and I just set these up to kind of make some stuff simpler. So those are my split cues. And I'll figure out how to, I always forget how to exit out of those. I think if I do that, yeah. All right, so we're back to the non-hot cues. So if you want to know how those top buttons that I told you that I mapped to be specific for exit effects, if we go into the menu here and under options, you see all these different things here. We're going to go mapping, and that's where the MIDI mapping is. So the first thing you want to do is if you want to find where the button is, what button is that you want to program. And my first one, I know here when my finger's on it, it says FX select 1. So if I press it, it's now going to say that button's name right there.
Okay.
So now you know what button you want to do. That's the easiest thing to find the button. So now you go into these, and these are all your codes over here on the left of stuff. And we're going to find FX1 on. So FX1 on is right there. And then here is the code. And because it's doing full screen, I don't know if you can see the code. But it's small, but basically is effect _ active flanger. That would be a single effect. But I just put the little and sign there and do effect _ active echo. And now when I press one button, it triggers both of those effects.
So you could actually stack multiple. I mean, you've got 2, but you could put another one on there if you wanted to.
Absolutely, yeah. So the next one I'm going to press, and you'll see the name of the button hit up here. That's backspin, so that's FX2 on. So we're going to go down here to FX2 on, and it's backspin 2.5 BT. So that means it's going to do the backspin effect for just 2.5 beats. And you can set that at whatever number you want to also. So little things like this, you're doing special effects. And then the third one, we're going to do the dump effect, and that is FX3 on. And that works in both directions. If the song's playing, it will stop with that effect. And if it's not playing, it will start with that effect. And stop. On. Okay. And FX3 on, shut off there. FX3 on is break start. That's the effect. That's all you're doing. So now we're going to see that sensor button with the kick drum. Okay, it's sensor. Okay. So we go over here and we find sensor. And that's how simple some of this stuff is. Sensor begins with a C. So right there. So it's triggering sample pad 1. Sampler pad. So sampler pad 1 is the one I showed you that has my MIDI effects and stuff, my tags and stuff. Mm-hmm. So all it did is it's called MJ Samples and Tags. That's the name of the pad. And it is triggering pad number 1 when I do that. And if I do shift, we do shift in that, you're going to see shift sensor come up. So now we go down and we find shift sensor because there is programs for shifts and everything else. So we find shift sensor and we have sample pad 2. And that's all it's doing is it's triggering the second sample pad of that sample pad. Sample bank, sorry.
Yep.
So does that kind of make sense on that?
Yeah. Gosh, that's
Really that easy. And now, go ahead, Dan.
So one question I had there with it when you were, let's pick one of the ones that was kind of take out the MJ samples and tags, but the breaks start in that. Where do you get that piece? Like I saw where you see the, obviously it was a sample pad 2. Yeah.
Oh, that's simple. In your effects here, these are your effects, okay? So as you do the drop down, whatever it's named there, that's the effect you're grabbing. And you just have to put it in parentheses. So backspin is that, and beat grid is 2 words. So you just make it match whatever it is when you type it in.
Okay.
So and I can load all kinds of crap in there. As you can see, I have a lot of stuff in here. There's the tremor one and the trans is that one that did the cut. It was the loop cut, I think. Ones that I've added later on. Chop cut, that's what it was. And you just pick whatever you want and put it there. And those also can be done on your pads. So if I want to edit my pads, I can go into, where's it at here? I gotta figure out how to find it on this I'm used to finding it on mine. We're going to switch back to my screen because I know where it's at on my screen. I don't know where it's at on this one. All right, so this one's mine here. And if I want to do the buttons, I can go into hot cues and then edit. And now it's going to bring up an edit thing. So now I pick the one that I have, which is my custom audio. And my custom audio, pad 1, the audio effect is loop out. You do it the same way. Effect, active, loop out. Second one, echo. And I could do 2 if I wanted to do one of the hot cues on the pads, same thing. Where before I had to do a long line, Virtual gives you these drop downs now that you can do stuff like this. And this is why I want to show you that you can do the drop downs. We're going to go back to the other screen. Default. And Virtual gives you, and I put them on here to kind of show that you have also this to add, but Virtual gives you these 4 dummy buttons, okay? Now these can be mapped to a button on your controller, but right now I just have them right here. If you want to edit one of those, right click on it, and I'm going to do this one here, and edit, and now it gives you the choice of what you want it to do. Do you want it to do a system thing, a parameter thing, a flow, a Windows, an audio control, and then it gives you the second effect of what to choose. So in some of these, like this one here, John, I think I did this one for you for a while back. It is audio mix and load next song.
Yep.
So it picks what needs to be typed there. So basically that one, if I'm playing and I click on here, whoops, I gotta turn the other volume up. It auto mixes and loads the next song. Now, Howie said he automated the automation, and that's basically what I did there. The other one that I put there is what's called search folder, and we can see it here. It's basically browser. We're doing a browser thing, and search folder. And basically what it does is if I type here, I'm going to search for songs. But if I click this up, it brings up a separate thing, and now this is only going to search for folders or crates. So if I know I have a crate in there called ILKB. So now it's bringing up my ILKB folders. So let's say I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. I want to look at the Michael Jackson night. Double click on it. It now opens over here the Michael Jackson folder from the ILKB. So all it's searching for is just folders and playlists. And it takes you directly to them. That can also be put into a controller button. Or one of the cool things Virtuals does now is that it lets you do mapping of keyboard. So you can map that into your computer keyboard. So I have a thing on mine that is, what is it, Control Shift, and that's Clone Deck. So if I go to my keyboard right now, I'm going to empty one of these, empty this one, and this song over here will be playing. And I'm going to do, on my keyboard setting right here in front of me, I'm going to do the Control-Shift. Am I hitting? No, there. I can't see my keyboard. I can't see my keyboard. There we go. So it clones it by doing that on the computer keyboard.
Sure.
And that was just mini-mapped. All I did was go into there, into the keyboard, up here, factory default, found the thing that I want to do by pressing the buttons, Control-Shift, and I know we're almost out of time, and then put clone_deck, which is right there. Audio, clone_deck. So if you don't know what it is, you can kind of search for, and you can actually start typing on here, and you say, I want it to clone, and you type in clone, and it will give you the clone command.
Sure.
So that's pretty much kind of all I wanted to do, was run through a lot of those. I mean, look at my list here, make sure that I didn't... but yeah, like I said, on the automated stuff, a lot of this stuff now is done on drop-downs. So, like I said, this one here becomes a drop-down on there. You don't have to go into anything. Your pads can be edited that way, whichever that edit thing is I can't find. But, yeah, I'm going to stop sharing now. We can come back to cameras.
Yeah.
There we go.
Excellent.
But it's that easy. It takes a little time, like Howie's MIDI mapping, but anybody can, if you want a button, it's not that hard to do. I just do 6 hours worth of buttons. That's all.
He's got a lot of buttons. Now,
I don't even know if I showed you all of them. I just showed the ones that I thought people would like. So.
No, that was very informational. Even though I've watched you do some of those things, it's like every time there's a new update with virtual and you find new features, that's really kind of cool. It's like, ooh, I didn't know it did that.
Yeah, that playlist search thing is hot for especially people who use a lot of search lists. You just go, I know it was this wedding, and then you start typing wedding, and then maybe someone's name, and it takes you right to that list. So I always like that one. So.
I'm liking the jump between the browser side lists because I always keep dragging my finger on my mouse pad.
Yeah, again, why Dan and I have been talking about new controllers and why I'm looking for something that's much like the 7000 because it gives me these extra buttons to do stuff that saves me going up to the computer.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Excellent. MJ, thank you much for your going through and showing us some neat little tricks there for virtual DJ. And of course, that a lot of the same concepts work with Serato when it comes to MIDI mapping
and record box both.
Stacking things and doing that. So we're going to take about a 2-minute break, and we'll be back with Ben Stowe. we're back for our last session tonight. We've got the one and only Ben Stowe coming to you from the snowy city of Bemidji, Minnesota.
Man, I'll tell you what, I was on the road doing sound with some national acts, and we were in a more westerner climate. Westerly. Anyway, as we rode home, and it was a very long truck ride home, we noticed, we were calling out the temperature from the dash.
That's always so depressing.
Oh yeah, well, and of course the truck is diesel, so it gets angry when the temperature gets a certain, it'll ding every time a certain threshold is met, and the alerts kept going off on the dash, ding, 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 ding. We're like, ooh, it's getting colder and colder. It was 16 degrees by the time we got home, and that much snow on my deck, goodness. So probably the rudest shock. I know all the viewers are gonna be like, what a big baby. Listen, if you don't live here, you don't understand. Probably the rudest shock was getting home after all those days on the road and that long trip home, and my truck was parked at the office, and it was outside, and it's covered in snow and ice. That ice where it kind of got warm and then it froze again, so a half-inch layer of ice on the windshield, and I'm exhausted, and I'm out there chipping away at the ice. And then I get home and somebody parked in front of my spot at the garage. So I couldn't even pull the truck in the garage. I'm like, come on. They're like, we didn't know you were coming home. We didn't expect you home for another day. Well, all right. That's my mistake for trying to get home early, I guess. So.
Life in the northern states.
Exactly. Judge me if you want. I don't care.
So Ben, let's talk a little bit about gain structure and kind of go through a few tips and ideas of what a person needs to have in mind to have a gain structure that's going to work optimally for them.
Well, the simplest way to describe gain structure, and it's one of those terms that when you use, people act like you're speaking in tongues or something. You're just talking up some kind of crazy nonsense.
Which would be a typical Tuesday night show.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Status quo for me. But of all the things we talk about, it seems like gain structure elicits the response where people's eyes roll back in their head and their head starts spinning around. And in case you haven't been paying attention to your calendar, Halloween's over. So it's just time to talk about gain structure for what it really is. And it's actually really very simple. We're simply adjusting the voltage, the electrical representation of the signal as it passes through the chain. And to put this in very, very simple terms, we're going to start at the inputs and we're going to work our way to the outputs. And we need to start there and fix it there. If we've made a mistake back here, we can't fix it over here. So once you've got it wrong somewhere, there's no fixing it anywhere else.
Okay, so we have that as our premise. Now, how do we define it wrong in a location?
You ask such great questions. You should be a journalist. No, it's funny because you are a journalist. See, that was the whole joke. That was it. That was the punchline.
No, I'm actually wondering, so I know what I did wrong.
Okay, so basically, you can be too low or you can be too high. If your signal is too low, every piece of gear has an inherent noise, an electronic noise that lives in the system. This is often heard or manifested, itself by a hiss sound. So if you hear your speakers hissing, that's generally a good indication your gain structure is bad somewhere. Now, if you're in your living room, some level of audible hiss on a PA speaker is probably normal. In a venue, you're not going to hear it. But anyway, that is that inherent noise that lives inside every system. So basically what we've got here is the noise floor of the system. And we want what's called the best signal to noise ratio, where we want to have the most signal relative to that noise floor that we can. So higher is better, except we don't want too much, because once we exceed the system's capacity to reproduce the signal, it can't and it won't, and it will simply clip that signal off. And there's where we get the term clipping. We're simply chopping off the top of the signal because it just can't reproduce it. So to recap, we want to have the highest possible signal to noise ratio, have the highest level signal away from the noise that we can, while also not clipping.
I got it.
Yeah, it's really not that bad. It's easier when you have meters. Now I can make it harder again because that's how I roll, by saying that not all meters are created equal. Yellow doesn't always mean yellow, and sometimes even some of the numbers we have to understand the scale they're using. But for simplicity's sake, meters can really help because they give us a visual representation of how strong that signal is. There's the old saying, if you're not redlining, you're not headlining. Knock it off. You don't want to be redlining.
I know. Howie likes to use that one. It's like, Howie, come on.
Well, yeah, we've discussed Howie ad nauseum, which, by the way, I love that because it's Latin literally for to the point of being sick. So yeah, we've discussed Howie ad nauseum. But I'm still confused about this whole WWE cage match that we've got going now. Like, I'm still trying to figure out, is Howie my opponent or is Big Daddy now my opponent? Because I thought he was my ally. And
I think it's sounding like more now that Big Daddy has become the opponent and Howie's coming over to your camp. And it could be this whole big cage match thing going on. But,
what if they, exactly. I feel like this has turned into like an ultimate free for all.
Yeah, it has. It has.
I think, those who don't know me know that I wrestled in high school and was a fairly competitive high school wrestler. And I've learned some pretty valuable tricks. And I think I'm going to just use the fetal position one.
Oh yeah, that one works really well. I mean,
it does. I'm just going to go get in the fetal position in the corner and let those two slug it out. So
it always works. You mentioned meter, a meter. What kind of a meter are you discussing? Because there's a lot of different ones, and we've talked about a lot of different ones on our show, which is Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe, by the way, on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern. We've got a whole list of shows out on DJNTV.com. You can go there and watch 100+ shows that we've done over the years.
It was a good plug for the Tuesday night show. And those of you who don't have your calendar out, today's not Tuesday, it's Monday. So that's why I'm all out of sorts. I don't have any fancy graphics or anything here for you, but Tuesday I would.
Yeah.
Anyway, most devices these days, it seems, have a meter of some kind, whether it be your software, your mixer, your microphone. And in fact, on your microphone, you may have a couple meters. Wireless, I'm talking about, of course. Wired microphones generally don't. But, the device is going to dictate the meter that you have. And what we want to measure is the incoming level signal. And if your device has a meter dedicated to the channel input, that's really easy. If it doesn't, then it becomes a little bit harder. Sometimes you have a mixing board that just simply has like a peak LED on it. And so generally what I tell people is, that being the case, to bring up the preamp gain on the mixer until the peak LED just begins to flicker, and then back it down a good 6 dB or so. We want to have enough room for the transients, particularly on a vocal channel, particularly when we're going to put a microphone in somebody's hands, because they can get a little carried away sometimes. So we want to leave room for that. But again, we want the most signal to noise ratio that we can get. Sort of a balancing act,
And that could be, depending upon the speaker, the person, like, say if you have your own microphone, you may have a different sweet spot than the toast microphone at the head table.
Guaranteed. Absolutely guaranteed. And in fact, that's why they have these adjustments. People ask me all the time, what should it be set at? Well, if there was only one right answer, it wouldn't change, right? So let's just take, for example, last week we talked about microphones and we talked about some of the different settings there. Feel free to go back and watch that show for reference, folks, or, John, you can throw some links in or whatever. But we have a sensitivity setting on the transmitter, which is the part that you hold, right? If it's a handheld, or a body pack, if it's a body pack. And there is a preamp inside this thing. There is something inside this microphone, a circuit that's going to take the electrical signal generated by this dynamic microphone in this case, and is going to convert it into a higher level signal in order to be modulated onto a FM carrier and sent wirelessly. So first preamp we need to adjust right here. And this will, like you said, it will adjust based on the person using the mic, depending on the type of capsule. Most of these capsules are interchangeable. You can, I'll pull this one off just for a good, fun demonstration. Take this whole thing apart here. So here we can see that this one is a dynamic capsule. So it's not a condenser. It's got a coil and a diaphragm in there that's going to move, and that movement of air is going to generate electrical current, which is going to go into the microphone and its preamplifier. And here we can see this thing is interchangeable. We can take it off and we can change it. So maybe I put a condenser on or a different dynamic. And because of that, those different capsules, they're going to have a different response electrically, different levels of sensitivity. And then I would need to change those settings inside this device. So that's going to change based on the capsule and the person using the mic. And then inside the receiver, which receives that radio signal and then sends out another analog audio signal to our mixing board, we're going to have another level setting, and that will change relative to the mixer. So simple summary, settings, hello, daughter and cat.
Remember the good old days when they used to come down with ice cream? I'm just going to say it a lot.
Yes.
Call it a dog.
Yes. No, I called it a cat. Okay.
Daughter and cat.
Daughter cat.
Daughter cat. Yes, it was daughter and cat.
Daughter and cat. Good night, daughter and cat. So, would you like to talk about microphones?
Sure.
Okay. Go learn about microphones and come back and you can talk about microphones.
Microphones can sometimes be staticky.
The audience is wondering where the ice cream is. I'm just reading the chat.
She ate it. She discovered it and she ate it. Anyway, so basically, if you are using the same receiver with the same mixing board all the time, we're not going to have to change that setting. We're only going to change the setting inside the transmitter relative to the capsule and the person speaking. Do we have one of those like technical difficulty slides that can come up here?
Yeah.
What? Oh, the cat just sneezed on me. Please stop teasing the cat.
I'm not. The cat sneezed all by himself.
Yeah, so for those of you watching out there, in the chat, I put in the Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe playlist where you guys can go and check out the full. The show from last week will be at the top of the playlist there, where we went through the Electro Voice, the RE3 wireless microphone, and we went through all the menus and covered a lot of the different ways of adjusting and looking at things. So that's what Ben was referring to earlier. So, okay, so capsules, changing capsules.
Yeah, so that's where you're going to change that setting in the microphone based on the person using it and if we change the capsule. More typical is we change the user, right? You know, today I've got somebody singing and they're a great vocalist and they're really going to lay into it. Tomorrow I've got, somebody who's timid and emotional because it's a wedding speech and I maybe need a little bit more of that gain. So again, that number changes. That signal then gets modulated. And here again, that's important, right? So a couple reasons that the gain structure is important here is the higher quality signal you're modulating on the FM carrier, the better that wireless signal is going to sound before it even gets to your receiver. Mm-hmm. Similarly, in a digital console, if you have more signal, you have more digital information, more bit depth. You simply have more waveform to be sampled digitally. So those preamps, those digital, after the AD conversion, they tend to sound better if you have a little bit stronger signal.
Sure. Makes sense.
Trying to keep that from getting super nerdy, but I mean, why stop now?
Yeah, of course. But this one actually does make sense. I mean, if there's more things coming in, there's more things I can work with. If there's less things coming in, there's less things I can work with. Yeah,
it's just less information to sample,
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, good gain structure is critical to good sound, and we demonstrated this at the audio symposium a few years ago. We talked about gain structure. We showed people, some things, and then everybody had mixing boards and microphones, and we said, okay, now everybody do it wrong,
Yeah, that's one way to learn. Yes.
Well, and listen to it. I just did this again teaching live sound a couple weeks ago. I used poor gain structure and let people listen to how that sounded in a microphone, how that sounded coming out. And then we fixed the gain structure. And the only thing different was the gain structure. And they found that it's more stable, it's less likely to feed back, and it's much better sounding. And here again, if you have it wrong here, so let's just say very first stage of gain in the wireless, if we have it wrong here, we cannot fix it anywhere else. We must fix the problem at the source. Mm-hmm. So then
when we're getting these things, then you're starting with the microphone and getting it set so it's in its happy spot. Then the receiver, getting it set in its happy spot, and you just continue to work your way to the speakers. Mm-hmm. And then you turn the power on. and it's good, or is there more?
Well, the very last stage of gain that will adjust is the amplifier. Now, if it's a passive speaker, then your amplifier is your amplifier. If it's an active speaker, your amplifier simply lives inside the speaker.
Right.
But that's the very last knobs you're going to adjust. So that we've got good gain structure going all the way through, and then we adjust it last at our speaker, and we're done. It really isn't terribly complicated. And I think that getting it perfect should be the goal, but getting it better will still yield notable results. People all the time say, wow, my speakers are louder now and they're not clipping. And yes, it's possible to clip your speakers and not have them as loud. You know, it's entirely possible that your speakers will not be as loud and will still be clipping, as opposed to having speakers that are louder and not clipping. So that's another thing. I remember, I think it was my friend Ryan Nelson, who's an engineer at Electro Voice, was at the Mobile Beat show with us a few years ago and was walking people through gain structure on speakers. And, you know, you would have thought people just had like a life-altering experience. You know, they left changed people. They were just like floating out of the room, like how they're just so happy and really excited to go try this. So
somebody was asking with the symposium, did you guys have the mixers and things there, or did people bring their own?
We provided them.
Okay.
Now, certainly for those that are coming to our symposium, which is postponed back to the regular time of the year for next spring, if somebody wanted to bring one, great. I mean, I don't see any problem with that whatsoever. You know, we didn't think that a lot of people would want to fly with their gear, so we wanted to try to provide it for people. And you know, we had a mix of DJ controllers and live sound desks. We wanted people to leave with a bit more of a rounded experience. But if somebody says, "Yeah, I want to bring my gear," I'm good with it.
Sure.
Now, of course, we do hold the audio symposium at the Electro Voice headquarters. So if you bring in a loudspeaker that's not Electro Voice, probably expect to get ridiculed a little bit. But no, anyway, I think we're all there to help no matter what. So
we have our gain, we get our microphones and everything set, and we're ready for the cocktail time. Will our gain structure need adjustment from that time to have intelligent or in the microphones to work well, to when we get into the dance time and we want to have decent quality microphone or announcement capability? Are we going to have to adjust things? And if so, where are we going to adjust things when we go to louder volumes?
It depends. The system gain structure doesn't really need to change, you know, because it can operate within those parameters. But if you are going from speaking tone to MC hype / screaming in your microphone, it's entirely possible that preamp is going to need to be adjusted, or preamps if it goes through a wireless system. Beyond that, though, I really wouldn't worry about, you know, changing my system gain structure. You know, we've got some range to work in there, and we're probably only talking about realistically maybe a 20 dB shift, you know, from dance level to cocktail level. So I don't think we're going to experience anything really, you know, life-changing there.
So it really wouldn't be one of those things that, would you recommend people when they're getting their setup, wedding setup, they just have got everything kind of set for their microphones for the cocktail time, would you recommend that they go crank it up and then do the mic set again so they have an idea of where they'll be set later? Or is that something that they can handle on the fly pretty much with a level of confidence?
I think both. You know, I think that, you know, you can, and in a DJ scenario, it's actually a lot easier. And here's why. If you're the one using the mic and you probably have less mics being used, you know, you can go in and just make that adjustment really quick and go, wow, I just clipped that preamp, you know, because I got super excited. I kind of laid into it as I was making my announcements or, you know, hyping the crowd, and I've got to turn that down. It's one microphone and you're on top of it and you're the one using it. Where that gets more complicated is in live sound, where a preamp is being shared. If you are doing monitors from front of house or from the same board, which is fairly typical in small production environments. In larger production environments, we have two mixing consoles with separate preamps. We have a dedicated monitor desk and a front of house desk. Each has their own preamps that they're in control of. But the moral of the story here is that if I adjust that preamp, I'm also adjusting the level going into the monitors. So now I've begun to shift the mix for the monitors, any aux buses and anything else. It's all affected by that one preamp. So it does become a little bit, more complicated. And in fact, this just happened to me just recently. And every once in a while it does, where I had a situation where I was mixing monitors from front of house, which I don't really love to do, but sometimes it's, you have to do it, a smaller event. That's just the way it is. And as the singer got warmed up, maybe we'll say, I did have to back that preamp down a little bit. And then I saw the singer kind of motioning me from the stage as covertly as possible to say that she needed more of her vocals in her inners. And I'm like, well, yeah, because I just tried to turn you down, So, you sort of have to make compensations when you do that. You just kind of have to expect that that's, they're singing louder, they're hearing themselves louder, and you just turn them down. Now you got to bring it back up, or they're going to continue to try to,
and bring it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned multiple microphones. Let's go back to the DJ side of it. If I'm going and I'm setting my gain structure for one microphone, and now all of a sudden there's a time where we're going to be using two microphones at the same time, does that change anything in the dynamics of the sound that we're going to have?
Well, you adjust each microphone individually. Each has its own gain structure. And at the end of the day, ultimately what you want, and if we think about this again in a live sound mix context, is that you want all of your inputs to have roughly the same level. And then you mix from faders. You don't mix from the preamp gain, despite what some video on YouTube might tell you. I've never seen it. I've just heard it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there.
I'm sure it's not the only piece of advice on the internet I don't agree with, but it's one I resoundingly disagree with. Mix from faders, that's what they're there for. So the other important thing to remember, I think, is that whenever we double the number of open microphones, we lose 3 dB of overall system gain, which is the equivalent of, having the power. So doubling or having the power, depending if we increase or decrease there. So, if we go from, one microphone to two, we lose 3 dB of overall system headroom. 2 to 4, we lose another 3 dB. So the more microphones that are active at any time, the harder your job to mix is going to be, particularly when it comes to fighting things like feedback and that sort of thing. And the more important that just overall good gain structure is going to be. I'll say this, and again, it'll amaze you. If you get your gain structure right, everything just starts to fit.
Excellent. Just starts to fit. I like that.
It is excellent. It really is.
I think it was good. That was good. And I think we're going to use this as our time to wrap it up. You kind of just put a bow on it.
I'm going to go rescue the cat.
Yeah, poor kitty. Poor kitty. Ben, thank you very much. If this is your first time of seeing Ben still, he's from NLFX Pro. You can go down. He's one of the sponsors here. Go down to the NLFX Pro link down in the video here, and you can go check out the website. Ben, Black Friday's coming. You're going to have the staff doing great things for you. If people want to do any of the Black Friday stuff, the best spot is on the email list. Is that correct?
You should definitely be subscribed to our email list. That's where you're going to hear about it first. You should definitely be following our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I don't know, whatever the kids are paying attention to these days. I think we have a TikTok account. I have no idea. Ooh. I mean, do I look hip and cool to you?
Seriously, no, I can see a TikTok video being on that hill in front of where you sent the guy running to go test the length of that half mile down the road, or maybe it was a mile.
He's back.
Oh, he's back. Great. That was only 2 years ago.
He wandered off. For those who don't know, this is Tony. And, we sent him out to distance test a microphone, and Tony wandered away. Literally. And Tony is back. And the story of Tony, by the way, for those just looking for a new favorite person at NLFX, and there's so many of my colleagues to love, but Tony formerly has worked for factories like Chevet and Digico and some other leading manufacturers as a factory rep, and he is now full-time employed at NLFX. So apparently he had so much fun getting sent on a hike with the wireless microphones that he's decided to join our team. And we couldn't be more excited. He's got an audio engineering degree, years of experience with live sound and tour, and again, has worked on the factory side, is really in a good position to help our customers with their projects. A lot of the stuff he works on is pretty big, like $500,000. But he is absolutely the kind of guy who will spend 2 hours talking to you about a $25 part as well. So really fits our character perfectly.
Nice.
So yeah. So since you mentioned him, that was just very timely. Yeah.
And he's literally back from that long walk. You guys, you can go check that out on the YouTube page if I'm not mistaken. I think that's where you guys had it.
It probably is. Yeah. So yeah, follow our social channels. Make sure you're signed up for our email list. Of course, anybody who's in Arizona at the DJ Collective can go visit with Kat. She's out there right now. Nice. If you were at Wedding MBA last week, Kat and Michelle were there, and hopefully you got a chance to meet them. And I really only know of a few of our Black Friday sales. I just, I've been focusing on my job and letting those people focus on their jobs, and they're doing an amazing job. There's going to be some good deals. And that's where you hear about them. Order them quick. I know supplies are limited. The supply chain sort of goes without saying. So
go to nlfxpro.com and you guys can sign up for the email list, check out some things there, and get a hold of Kat when Kat or Katie, and as you get closer to the day. Ben, we're going to wrap up because Howie is up next, and he wants to make sure he's ready to go at 10 o'clock Eastern, DJNTV.com/chill.
I'm sure he is.
He's all fired up. He started us off tonight talking DMX with the iPad and doing some things with that, and man.
Well, and he's very good at it, of course. I know
goodness.
he did the stuff for the trade show you had me speak at, whatever year that was, last year, 2 years ago.
It was about 17 years ago. Yeah, it was in.
It feels like it. Like
it was in February of 2020, 17 years ago. Longest 45 years of our lives, man. But it was great stuff.
2020 was a year and a half ago. Wow. Anyway, so great guy to learn that from.
Yeah, you guys can go if you just joining us. You can jump back and check out some of the earlier shows once these videos have processed. And other than that, gang, thank you much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.